First of all, I would say that this whole technology, which has been innovated here in Philadelphia over the last number of decades, truly is not only transformative, I think it's essentially miraculous.
The nirvana in research was curing cancer. I mean, that was a cliche when I was a little boy. And here we are at the doorstep of finding a cure for cancer.
We're finding the keys, and there's always a reason to be hopeful. I was literally told I had about 2 years.
Normally, the job of the immune system is to attack foreign substances like bacteria or viruses. But Dr. June's team has been able to engineer the body's own immune system to go after cancer cells as though they're foreign agents.
To make a new cancer therapy, what we did was program T cells, so the cells that are infected by HIV viruses and so on. We program those to become like antibody-based B cells. Those cells then became, after this reprogramming, leukemia-specific killers.
So what Carl has done and his team is to be able to engineer homing devices, molecular homing devices on the surface of your immune cells so they can search out just like a key looking for a lock.
Since it was dealing with altering genetic material, it was like a first taste of a brand new area of medicine. And that alone was intriguing. But I think the thing that made us all sit up and pay attention was these were patients who had tried everything else, and had been through everything else, had really no hope, and yet were cured in about 3 weeks.
The third patient we treated was published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2011. Douglas Olson, who's a scientist and had leukemia for over a decade, and treated here at the University of Pennsylvania by David Porter.
I was diagnosed with cancer in 1996. I was 49 at the time. It was CLL, or chronic lymphocytic leukemia. The prognosis at that point was that the survival rate was somewhere around 6 to 15 years from diagnosis, and there was no cure at that time other than a bone marrow transplant.
Most people can't get a bone marrow transplant, and if they do, a lot of times they have lifelong problems with complications. So I began working on a therapy, doing basic immunology to learn how to grow the T cells. But those T cells come from a donor, someone else. And in our case, we're trying to do it where the patient themselves is a donor.
I really saw it as a way to fight back, frankly, that I wasn't going to be continuing to be a victim of this thing.
They withdraw cells from the patient's bloodstream. They engineer these cells in the laboratory and then reinfuse the cells so that they can attack the cancer as serial killers. And then once the cancer is destroyed, they stay around as sort of a vaccine, should it come back. So it's designing an immune system to treat cancer.
About a week later, I was in David's office, Dr. Porter's office, and we were sitting there and he's looking at me. He said, "Doug, we can't find a cancer cell anywhere in your body." He said, "Your bone marrow is completely clean."
As the immune system eradicated his tumor, he had pounds, literally pounds of tumor, and it went away in less than a week. It was an astonishing event that we saw.
It was at that point I knew that I was going to be okay. It was just, Dr. Porter was just standing there beaming. And
what he said when that happened, when Dr. Porter gave him that news, is he got in the car with his wife and went down to Annapolis and bought a boat.
Medical research doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of hard work, and the evolution of Dr. June's work has been a multi-decade process that now is coming to fruition.
Certainly there's been a lot of investment in gene therapy, and as you've seen, things come and go. But in this case, it just happened that everything lined up correctly.
The first child treated, her case was featured on the front page of the New York Times. She had incurable leukemia and multiple relapses, and we gave her just the CAR T cells. And over the period of 17 days, it eradicated pounds of tumor in her case, as well as we'd seen in the adults. And the leukemia was gone. And she's now past 1-year anniversary.
I think the breakthrough here is not only the invention of this approach, but really the team. It's really teamwork, led by a visionary leader.
Well, I've been trying to identify the magic ingredients that Carl June brings to his team. And I think I can distill down what the key characteristics are. First, he's a genius and people around him know it. Second, he's got curiosity and he's got the ability to invigorate those around him as part of the team. But most importantly, he's passionate. And when you combine the genius, the curiosity, the teamwork, and the passion, you've got a formula for success.
If this development continues, which I believe it definitely will, you're going to have a lot more scientists in this community. You're going to become one of the centers, if not the center for cancer research in the world. That's a lot of positive things for this city. This could truly represent the kind of 21st century manufacturing that can transform a region, if not a country.
Novartis has brought a team of scientists to this problem. They've brought new skills in addition to the science for FDA approval so that it can be delivered nationally and internationally. So this team of academia and industry will certainly put Philadelphia on the map.
Right now, the Penn team is exploring this to be used in other diseases, pancreatic cancer, colon cancer, you name it.
I think the public has for a long time wanted cancer to be cured, and so have the scientists. The problem has been that it was a lot more complex than we knew.
I look at this whole thing as a pivotal moment in medicine, really in the history of medicine. If you look at in cancer therapy, we've had surgery, you can remove the cancer. You have radiation that radiates and basically burn the tumors. Or you have chemotherapy that, not very specific, kills the cancer cells off in a very toxic way. Well, this is a whole new ball game, which is exploring your immune system, engineering your immune cells to go after the cancer cells, almost a whole new angle on therapy. So it is a game changer. And the fact that it works in a series of diseases now gives us great hope that we can apply it to other diseases and really change the game on how we're dealing with cancer in the future.